Hey Brian, funny how things go. I was just perusing my Joby head. Had just switched over from, had been on as economic stability because I was making some comments on Dennis Kucinich's video. That's my daughter actually sent me from Facebook. It was kind of ironic. And I was on there as economic stability, and Pete and I had made a video, and we had made, used the video as a reply. I'm sure you've been too busy to watch my videos, but actually, I want to get to that in 1 second. So anyway, I came back on as Joby Head, and because I came back on as Joby Head, I have to open up my videos, and when I opened up my videos, came up the fact that I had a new contact from you. So, well, first of all, thanks a lot for getting back with me. I appreciate it as much. And the irony is that if you actually would have been trying to check out Pete and my videos over this extended period of time, Brian, okay, which I totally acknowledge and have been equally constrained against getting back with you had you been sending me something. That's what you would have seen, that Pete and I hadn't posted a video. In fact, when I think it was 2 months now, Pete and I just posted this other video about Occupy the money system. Okay, so I hope you have a look at that, share it with your students, and figure out when I can come down and have a chat with them someday. And hopefully it will be when the Economist person is there. Now, Brian, having said that, again, thanks so much for getting back with me and for being so thoughtful and for investing all the time that you have in this. And if I can combine those, for so thoughtfully investing all of your time in this, because it's obvious to me from the video that you have done so. So with everything else that's going on in both of our lives, I do appreciate that. And I guess having said that, I want to go into what you said, because there were some pretty amazing observations that you made there, and connections that I have completely forgotten about. So I want to go quickly to the point where you said that you originally came across me as a participant in the discussions with Gary, in Mendham, the Fair Economist, who had one of his handles was as the Fair Economist, and with Nick, the great Britter, I believe, who's living in France now, and who had at the time his Modern Mystic site going, and who now has the overthepeak.com site going, and so he's going full speed ahead. So that our discussion way back then, okay, that all pretty much came about because Nick saw a video that Pete and I had done, one of our Coffee with Joes, on the subject of a permanent money system. Okay, and so basically, I want to go back to that permanent money system thing. Nick saw it, got into the thought about Robert Hemphill's quote about our lack of a permanent money system means that we're reliant upon the banks to make loans or not loans in order for us to have money. And that guy was the chief credit officer of the Atlanta Fed. I invite you to take that comment back to them if you haven't already. In which he was lamenting, what that means for society. So anyway, important point. Important point because you iterated here that at the time when they were talking about, I was talking with Nick about fractional reserve banking, and remember that fractional reserve banking means money is created as a debt. That's what it means. That's my point with Nick. And say, therefore, in order to stop money being created as a debt, you have to go to full reserve banking and have money introduced by the government. Public money, so-called public money, as you relate in Dr. Yamaguchi's work. So, so you observed. My thing with Gary, and one of the reasons that I stopped dealing with Gary, the fair economist fellow, was because he was, to me, he had blinders on. He wasn't willing to discuss his opinion about the fact that, it's the rich bastards that have it all, and what we need to do is tax it back out of them with a fixed 50% tax. And you thought that my reason for saying that's silly is because it was too difficult, but then eventually you came now to realize that what I was really saying was that it wouldn't make any, not that it wouldn't make any difference, but it wouldn't make that much difference, and that's not the cause of the problem. That's a manifestation. That's a symptom of the problem, and that it wouldn't, it wouldn't solve the problem, and that's true. But Gary's way, his kind of attacking way is it's much better to be observing it than to be receiving it. It's much more fun to be to observe it than to receive it. That's why I couldn't talk with Gary anymore. Gary was the thing about, you just got to tax that back at him. And my whole thing is, fiscal policies, it's not about fiscal policies. It's about the monetary system. It's about the monetary system. The money system, that's all it's all about, okay? Once you come to realize that, the thing about the solutions has to come from the money system. The money system, the system is the problem. That's what the Fed people don't get. The Fed people think that this was all a bunch of looseness by a few bad actors out there doing things that increased risk without compensation, essentially, because that's how we were able to build up, all the mortgage-backed securities and all that stuff in the shadow banking system. So what I want to tell you is you're absolutely right. That's what I wanted to tell you about that. 5 minutes in, you said, I think what I got it now is the reason that you said that was because it wouldn't make any difference. It would not make any difference, okay? and when you think about how that money power, okay, that I'm talking about changing in the money system, manifests itself in our economy, social economy, however you want to think about it, political economy. When you think about that, that's the stuff that has to change. Okay? That's the stuff that has to change. And that stuff won't change unless we have a new monetary system. So, the guys at the Fed may be good guys, okay, but they're working with a flawed monetary system. And I know that the people that think that they're not, I'm sorry, man, I'm just going to throw this in here. Hopefully there's going to be a link, but I'm going to tell you that the link is very, very good and very close. It's to Frederick Soddy's paper on, I forget what he says about, the relationship between physical science and state the sovereign state's workings, the workings of the sovereign state. Because this is where it's Soddy that tries to bring real science into money, okay, and therefore that issue of the sovereignty of the state and the monetary system, the sovereignty of the monetary system, is very, very important, to this discussion. So having said that, congratulations, because you didn't get it back then, and now you get it, and you get it because you do understand more about what I'm talking about. And again, I thank you for listening, and I hope that this is all worthwhile for you and me and your students or whoever else might find out about it. Now, you talked about Dr. Yamaguchi's work, and here, either you just used the wrong terminology or you didn't quite get it. Okay, now this goes back to his work, that what he found was that the present money system, which you called the private money system, okay, really what he would call the debt money system. It's not that it's private, it's that it's the debt-based money system. Okay? Now, unfortunately, private people have, historically gained from the debt-based money system. So there's the privateness of it, which, I don't, is not the thing. Okay, that's not the thing. If the private people had a great money system and they could figure out a way to create the interest when they create the loan principal and interest due, but they never create the interest. If they had a way to do that, and the result of the way to do that was so that there wasn't so much power that existed in the people that are giving out loans, securitizing and collateralizing them, and then not creating the interest, and therefore, creating the rat race to get your interest. They had a money system that worked not on the basis of competition, but of cooperation. The money system, it's the foundation issue of the national economy, Brian. Okay? It's not the financial system. I congratulate you for differentiating, that it is the shadow bankers and that part of the financial system that, there is not a lot to talk about them, Under reform, they would not be able to do the things they do. The things that they do are characterized by me as this. They create claims by creating things that they lend money on, and because they do it counterpartying, they're basically just pumping themselves up. They create financial assets, which are dollar-denominated financial assets, structured investment vehicles, call them whatever you want, derivatives, whatever you want to call them, doesn't matter. They create financial assets that are real economic claims against the national economy of this country, for which they don't produce anything. So they're done, Brian, okay? People that are not working with real money, that are creating funny money things, they're going to have to do that in their own currency. And I welcome them to do that in their own currency, because that would be one of those great kind of free banking, stuff going on. Okay, back to Yamaguchi. Sorry, that's about all I'm going to get done here. Yamaguchi. No, his differentiation was between the debt-based money system and the non-debt-based money system, the debt-free money system. It was the debt-based money system, not because it was privately owned, or even because it used fractional reserve banking, but because it introduces money as debt. That's the system that took us to financial chaos. He says hyperinflation. To me, that's the weakest. Or sovereign debt crises, which is much more, possible because of who controls interest rates in a free market, in free capital markets. So if you would have differentiated between debt money and debt-free money, or non-debt money, rather than private central bank versus public central bank, the thing would have made more sense how he arrived at those conclusions. It doesn't matter who owns it. What it matters is the mechanics of it, the arithmetic, if you will, of it. So he found that. First of all, I was really impressed by him bringing up that PDF of his work. And by the way, you're far more talented there than I am. And as I said, because we are not able to keep up with the interest payments on the debt that's been created, okay? And the debt that's been created is all kinds of debt that's not really debt, okay? That is to say, it's not traditional debt. It's not money that somebody loaned to somebody. It's not even money that somebody created. It's stuff that somebody created that serves as money. Okay? There's the financial crisis coming right at you right there. Okay? And now we have to take interest out of the real economy in order to pay off those things. And that's what we're doing right now. That's where all the trillions of dollars have gone. Okay? But neither here nor there. All we need to do is to talk about the solution, which you got to in the end. And I hope I'm going to get this in here, Brian, because in the end you say the bottom line is for everybody out there, because people don't understand money. I'm going to get into this again. How would I benefit by the change? By which one of these is in place? Once you understand that it's systemic, okay, it's not a question of how would I benefit out of this? The question is, how would we benefit out of it, Brian? How do we benefit out of it? We, whose money system it is. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.